Hi Luke, this is Amy from Lovely Design, and I'm responding to your question on the forum about designing a ring for Superfitshank installation. So what I did here was just grab a picture of a Superfit ring for reference. We'll start here. I grabbed this off of Stellar. You could go to superfitink.com and also probably get this picture wherever you're going to be sourcing it from. So let's just say you need it in a size 7, which is like your finished size. So I always like to start with, there we go. I always like to start getting these in the right size and centered and stuff. Okay, to my recollection, a Superfit ring is about 2 millimeters thick. Let's see if that looks right. Yep, it is. And you can verify that when you get your part in. One thing here, though, that needs to be changed is you're seeing the hinge down here and you're seeing the clasp up here. You can see the clasp release right there. That clasp release points towards the bottom. So we're going to move this like that. Okay. So now you're seeing the mechanism. And this is the way it's laid out. Now, there's a couple different ways to install a Superfitshank, and I think the best one, and you may have to confirm this with your goldsmith, whoever's going to be putting this together, unless you're going to put it together yourself. A lot of times, what makes the most sense is to leave the Superfit ring pretty much whole. You don't actually, a lot of times people will cut a chunk out of the top and cut a chunk out here and then just drop the piece on. But what I think works a lot better is to actually cut a groove. They actually cut like a piece out of here and then drop your new model on top. The other way to go about it is to actually cut the ring from here to about here. So you can either cut this whole piece out, or you can make a step in it and put your piece on top of it. So I'm going to pause this and bring out a couple of examples. Okay, so I got my model out here. This is the one that I had posted on the forum. And if I could just go ahead and turn off the Superfitshank, this is the only part of it that I actually made. I mean, it's the only part of it that I actually cast, like 3D printed and cast. So you'll notice the inside of here is nice and hollow. And that allowed my goldsmith to put this together any way he wanted. He could... I'll make this smaller. Ugh, why can't I get a color? Okay, he could cut that Superfitshank here and here, like above the hinge, and just drop this piece on there. So that would be one way to do it. And another way to do it, and the way that he actually ended up doing it, was he actually cut a notch down on that Superfitshank and dropped this on there. And so I'll show you what that looks like. But I'm going to pause the video for time's sake here. Okay, so what I like about what my stone setter did here, so this was the piece I gave him, which had this nice hollowed out area. So he actually took the Superfitshank and cut a groove out of the top and superimposed that right on top of it. And what I like about the way that he did that was because then that Superfitshank was never completely cut. Because what happens with these things is, let's take a look at it. If you cut a piece off the top, you have to kind of like, what you do is before you cut that top, you freeze the hinge with some boric acid so that it doesn't move while you're cutting it. But the thing is that there's just no possible way to cut a chunk out of the top and know for sure that nothing is going to move. And the tightness of the clasp is completely reliant on the idea that that circle stays the same. Well, now when you cut this off, what you've done is you freed this hinge. It wants to go back and forth, and this can just actually come completely off if you don't temporarily freeze it with boric acid properly on the other side. So it's way more of a reasonable approach is to never completely cut this shank, and thereby never having to worry about these pieces moving and not fitting properly later. It's way more reasonable to cut like a nice notch out of here and then put your shank right on top of it. So that's how I like to do mine. I like to leave something that goes across the top. So no matter what it is that you're making, you really only have, and you can kind of see this here, you don't have that much real estate to work with. Like everything on your design has to stop above this point or even maybe a little farther. The closer you get to these hinges and clasp mechanism, the more that you risk ruining the entire piece. And these pieces are pretty expensive. I think they're, at least $500 and up. I think the last time I did one, it was like, I think this ring was $3,000. Well, we replaced a couple of other stones on it, but you don't want to risk ruining this because then it's just scrap. Now, another thing you can do is you can send your design to Superfit, and they will actually build this latch into the piece and send you back a casting with the mechanism working, and then you can just go ahead and set your stones and polish it. So that's another option for you too. But if you want to get that on there, I would totally suggest doing it with a notch cut out if possible. And if that's not possible, just leave your cuts here as high as you can on the shoulders of the ring. And then whatever approach you take, absolutely make sure with your goldsmith or whoever's putting it together that they are comfortable putting it together, because there's a saying in the industry, and I am a goldsmith as well. I spent a lot of years at the bench, and I hear people say all the time, oh, any goldsmith should be able to do this. Well, it's kind of a blanket statement. It's kind of like saying any CAD designer should be able to design a frog. It's like, yeah, is it humanly possible? Yes, but do I want to sit down and design a frog on computer today? No, not so much. So just make sure whoever's putting it together for you is good with that. Okay, thanks for reaching out to me. I really appreciate it.